everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. As I've mentioned before, Jasmine's 5th birthday is on March 11th. It's always really hard each year to know what to do to celebrate her. Sometimes it feels like you aren't doing enough. Some years you do more, some years you do less. But just know that whatever you decide to do is the right thing to do. You don't have to do something grand and giant every year. Usually we have a cupcake in her honor. We sing happy birthday to her as a family, and we just remember her. But this year, one thing I plan to do is a special podcast episode dedicated to her in honor of her birthday. I hope that you will tune in and help me remember and celebrate her legacy. Today I am talking with Sofia. She talks about her experience going through 2 traumatic miscarriages and what it felt like to not have the support of her doctors and the hospital. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Sofia. Sofia, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Sarah. So my name is Sofia. I arrived in the US in 2014. I have a little bit of an accent, so my husband always makes fun of me, and we always have these jokes about it. I am married to my lovely husband that I absolutely love. I have no kids yet because, yes, we have been trying, and that's what we were going to talk about today. So I live with my husband and our wonderful cat. Name is Flo, or Florence. She's our baby girl. So yeah.
I miss having a cat. My husband's allergic, but I love cats.
Oh,
So we
really?
can't
I
have
absolutely love cats. The funny thing is, you wanted a dog, so we went to the shelter to get a dog, and I kept saying, "Oh, I really wanted a cat," but he doesn't really like cats. But then he just fell in love because he hugged our Flo, and she would not
Aw.
she would not leave his lap. So we ended up bringing Flo home with us.
I love that. That's such a sweet story. I always feel like, men, they think, oh, I don't want that. And then they just like become big softies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what country are you originally from?
Oh yes, I'm originally from Portugal.
And
I'm
what
Portuguese.
made you move to the US?
Well, mostly the financial struggle in Portugal. Um, you get paid monthly. You always feel like you never have money for anything. You don't have financial capability to move out on your own or anything. So I decided to come to the US, and it worked out. Um, as soon as I got here, I started looking for a job, and things evolved, and I am very grateful. I was lucky, and that was good. So my whole family is in Portugal, and eventually I met my husband in here. So my husband, it's the main reason I stayed in the U.S. Otherwise, I think I would have gone already. I would have left.
Yeah, it's hard being away from family,
Yeah.
especially that far. My family's only a couple of states away, and I still find that hard.
Exactly. At the beginning, it was very hard, especially Christmas. The holidays were extra hard, but eventually you'll get around and learn that's the life of an immigrant, I guess.
Well, I'm glad that things are going, well in that aspect.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about your loss journey so far?
So we got married. Me and my husband, we got married in 2018, and like you think when you get married, you think you're gonna get married, you're gonna get pregnant right away. It's just gonna happen because it's the natural course of things. And
Right.
so I was on birth control, and I remained on birth control for a while until we felt ready to try to get pregnant, which was about a year. So in 2009, around 2019, I think it was around like June 2019, I went to see my OBGYN. I told her that I wanted to stop the birth control, that we wanted to try for a baby. She told me it would be fairly easy. It shouldn't take long, that probably within a 6-month window, I would get pregnant. So I left feeling very happy and hopeful and thinking everything's going to be fine. Um, so we tried and tried and tried, and we could never get pregnant. So then I started feeling a little bit I don't know, wondering, is something wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Because I could not get pregnant. So a year went by, and I had to return to the OBGYN for the annual checkup. And she asked me if I was still trying. I said yes, obviously. And then she ordered a bunch of other tests because she thought it was a little bit unusual that I didn't get pregnant yet. However, they always give the main reason, oh, your age, because I am now 39. So they always tell me, oh, you're already advanced in your age, so it might be one of the reasons. I found out I was pregnant on September 2020. I was ecstatic. I was so happy, obviously. And I think it never ever even crossed my mind that a miscarriage could happen. I don't think like I feel like miscarriage is such a taboo word that so for someone that is just trying to conceive, they don't even consider that that can happen. At least I never did. Like no one in my family ever had a miscarriage. From my husband's family, they never had infertility issues either or miscarriages, anything. So that never even crossed my mind. And as soon as we found out that we were pregnant, of course, I called my parents. I told my parents right away. Everyone was just so happy. And we thought about keeping it like just for ourselves until like 3 months. Um, and then like announce it, obviously. So unfortunately, I think one of the mistakes that I did, now looking back, I was so excited. I started buying all the books about pregnancy and what should I do, the do's and don'ts about pregnancy. We would go out, me and my husband, and we would buy uh, those little socks and tiny things we would start buying just, oh, we're pregnant. Like, it seemed like so unreal. Everything was like happy about it. And then at 8 weeks, I started bleeding. It was a Saturday morning, and my husband was still sleeping, and I went to the bathroom and I noticed some spots of blood. So I got very, very scared, and I rushed to the room and I woke him up and I told him, I'm bleeding. What's wrong? I am bleeding. I was completely in shock. I didn't know what to do. So we went to the ER. He took me to the ER. We explained what was going on. They did some tests. They did everything that we saw the baby. They told us everything was fine, and I think that's when I finally felt, oh, thank God, everything is okay. Maybe I'm just overreacting. And I was told that sometimes happen, and not to worry about it. That I should come home and everything was going to be fine. But I had so much pain. I was in a lot of pain, which at the time I didn't know exactly how I should feel. So I had no idea, is this normal? Is this not normal? So I came home, and then Sunday morning I was bleeding heavier and the pain was absolutely unbearable. So my husband once again told me, no, we need to go to the ER again because this is not normal. Just the day before we had seen the baby and we have heard the heartbeat and everything, we were told everything was fine. So we rushed to the ER, and they told me I had to wait because there was no one to do an ultrasound that day. The person, it was a Sunday, so the person apparently was off. They told me, oh, you're gonna have to wait. So we wait from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 8 o'clock until someone came. I was there all afternoon and I was in so much pain, and I knew I knew everything was lost. It started sinking in, the fact that we were losing a baby, because like the bed was completely soaked in blood. You can imagine.
Yeah.
As for someone who went through that, they know exactly how it is. So at that point, I knew, okay, we lost the baby. So after they did the ultrasound, they told us there was nothing there, and they told me this sometimes happens. You can try again in 2 months. So we just came home, and I was devastated. The first time I was absolutely devastated. Now just talking about it, it's
It's okay.
like, yeah, it's hard. Um, and the most hurtful thing is it's the comments people make. Which, when I found your Instagram, I immediately felt connected because I thought this is exactly how I feel. People make the I don't think people don't do it out in a wrong way. I know that, but it's hurtful, and that's not what we want to hear at the time.
Right.
And I was very very sad, and I don't think I was ever that depressed. And after like 4 days, I remember being on the phone with my mom, and she just told me, "Well, you need to snap out of it. You need to stop that." And I'm thinking, wow, she's not understanding. And I can't blame her because I don't think my family ever thought this could happen. So eventually, life went on. I had to go back to work because I took a week off. I was mentally very, very hurt, and I needed time away. And but I can honestly say I was very, very, very sad for a good 6 months. It did impact me a lot. And then like also my husband, like the fact that a commercial would come on with some babies, we both would start crying. It was very hard. So then we started trying again, and we kept trying. Every month we would try, and nothing would happen. So I thought, well, this is never going to happen again. And I actually changed. I switched to another OBGYN because I felt the first time, when I had the first spots, I called my OBGYN, and she just told me, well, it's too early to say if you're having a miscarriage. And that shocked me. Like I was not expecting that. I think things should have been approached in a different manner, because it was my first time pregnant. I had no idea that it could even be a possibility. I felt like there should have been a little bit of compassion out to approach the person to say those things. So I looked for another OBGYN, and when I looked for the other OBGYN, I went for some exams, some routine to see if everything was okay, and I was told I have a low egg reserve, so it would be very very hard for me to get pregnant. And immediately I was told you should try IVF, because it's going to be very hard for you to get pregnant. So we stopped thinking about it. My husband and I decided eventually we will adopt, and I didn't want to do IVF, mostly because financially it would be we would be struggling, and I also didn't want to put my body through all of that and think, what if it fails in the end? I'm going to be in debt, and I'm going to be devastated anyway. I don't want to do that. So we decided adoption it will be when time comes and we can financially afford it. But then in December 2021, I found out I was pregnant again. And actually, I wasn't even, I guess, because I totally shut myself to the idea that I could eventually get pregnant again. I was late already 4 or 5 days. And until I realized, wait, maybe I should take a pregnancy test. And the test came positive. But at that moment, the second time, I don't know how I felt. It was, instead of being happy, I immediately I felt scared. I felt, oh my God, I'm pregnant. I guess all the images from the first pregnancy came to my head, and all the anxiety, all the pain came to my mind again. So I wasn't sure how to react. So when I told my husband, he was ecstatic. He was so happy, obviously. But it started also being a little bit of the game of paranoia. Is something gonna happen? Is everything okay? Every time I would go to the bathroom, I'm looking and thinking, am I gonna have any blood? Am I gonna be okay? So we were happy, but at the same time, I it's not it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It was a blessing. But I felt so much fear inside of me, which I shouldn't, but I did. And So when we were approaching the 8 week mark, because as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I called my OBGYN and I told, I had a miscarriage before, and they told me, we only want to see you at 10 weeks. We don't need to see you before. And I said, yes, but I already had a miscarriage. Shouldn't I be seen prior? Then the 10 weeks, and they told me, oh no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. We'll see you at 10 weeks. So it was like the waiting game until, oh my God, is everything going to be okay until we reach the 10 weeks? By the time we reached the 8 week mark, of course, I had the fear, is everything going to be okay? Since last time I lost it at 8 weeks. So everything went fine at the 8th week. And then on the 9th week, I went to the bathroom. I was at work. I had some spotting. Immediately, I called the OBGYN, who told me right away that I should go to them and that they would see me right away. So I went. Uh, but when they did the ultra, they asked me, how many weeks do you think you are? And I said, well, from my calculations, I'm about 9 weeks now. But they did an ultrasound and they told me, this baby does not seem to have evolved after 5 weeks. So another shock. And the second time, then they sent me home. I came home. I had so much pain; it was unbearable. I bled for hours, and I kept telling my husband I don't want to go to the hospital mostly because I know that would impact us with a hospital bill that I didn't want to get. Yeah. So I kept saying, I don't want to go to the hospital. I'm fine. I don't want to go to the hospital. And I just kept bleeding more and more. It was way worse than the first time, I'll be honest. It was absolutely tragic. And around midnight, I told him, I think I'm going to pass out. I was shaking. I had no energy. I was bleeding for about 8 hours straight, and I was soaking pads less than 5 minutes. I could not. I was constantly changing. I got to one point that I was just sitting in the toilet and I wouldn't even get up because I couldn't. I would change a pad and immediately it would be soaked, and I would have to change it again. So we took me to the ER. And as soon as I got to the ER, they just asked me, what took you so long? You're absolutely dehydrated. They gave me morphine. They did some testing, and they told me that I became anemic because I lost so much blood. And they asked me, are you considered a high-risk pregnancy? I told them, not that I'm aware of. No one ever told me that. My OBGYN never said that. But that kind of got in the back of my head, thinking, was I being ignored by my OBGYN? Because then you second guess everything. And but eventually they just dismissed me after 6 hours. They told me to come home. They just gave me the morphine. The bleeding started slowing down, and they told me it would be fine. And I remember on the drive home just telling my husband I will never want to get pregnant again because it was absolutely devastating, and it was so hard on my body that I just thought, I don't want this again. And now we are trying again, obviously. You've been there, you know how it is.
I know you say, I'm never going to do it again, and then you find yourself doing it again.
Exactly. Because then you forget and you think, wow, I would love to get pregnant. So
you're like, well, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I'm just thinking it was. No.
Exactly.
But I just find it really frustrating how little help you received, like during your losses, from the hospital, from the doctors. It's like they just kind of left you out there on your own to just figure it out.
Now that I have been listening to your podcast, I think, oh my God, I should have seen the red flags. No one actually looked out for me, even though I called and said, I had a miscarriage before, I need to be seen. And even now, when I go to my OBGYN, she just keeps telling me, are you sure you don't want to try IVF? I feel like there's I'm sorry to say, but I feel like there's an agenda trying to get me to do IVF. And I keep saying, financially, that would be impossible for me. I can't go through such thing. Like, I admire people who can, but I can't, and I would not put myself through that to think then in the end, I could fail. There's a possibility of failing. That would even break my heart even more.
Right. And then, like you said, you'd have all the debt from it because, yeah, IVF is not cheap.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah,
So, why do you think it's important to share your story?
I think in a way, I wish I knew this was. Unfortunately, the word is common. I wish I knew this was more common than I knew prior. Um, when I had my first miscarriage, I felt completely alone. I didn't know how I was supposed to feel. I didn't know where to go to find a community that have been through that and that would understand that. Until I found your Instagram, which honestly, you have been a little bit of a lifesaver, to be honest.
Oh, thank
You are
you.
you are because you are changing the mentality around it. I love your post. The other day you posted something about when we go to the bathroom and how we are so scared of seeing spots of blood, and I'm thinking, oh my god, this is so true, because it's hard for someone who have never been through that to realize what we go through. And
Yeah,
I think it's important for women to know they're not alone. They are not alone. And it's important also to know you deserve attention from your OBGYN, from the people that should be helping you. Now I know that. I didn't know that before, but now um, it's the second time it happened. Even my husband, he says if you get pregnant again, there's no way we are going to be wait until 8 weeks or 10 weeks. They need to see us right away, because I feel like it's just another person getting pregnant. They think, but for us, it's like it's a miracle, and I need to be seen, and I need to be helped, and I need to be paid attention also.
I agree. And it's really frustrating when, they just write you off as, like you said, just, oh, here's another pregnant person. It's like, but yeah, you're not listening to me. Like
Exactly.
I've been through
Exactly.
this and, like how does it hurt them to just see you 2 weeks earlier or.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how I feel. I feel the first time I didn't expect that to happen. It did happen. It was unfortunate, and I learned from it. The second time I knew what was happening. But at the same time, I feel when I found out I was pregnant, I should have been seen right away. And when I called my OBGYN, I mentioned various times I had a miscarriage before, because I thought there's a red flag right here. You guys should see me. I should be like, you should accompany me. Like, take make sure everything is going to be okay. But no, I was just dismissed, and so I think women should know. No, you need to advocate for yourself. You need to make sure you are seen, because it will make a difference. Because when they told me, oh, your baby isn't measuring more than 5 weeks, so probably the baby was dead inside of me. And if they saw me sooner, maybe the things could have been avoided. I don't know what's if there's something, some lack, some deficiency in vitamins or not. I don't know, because I ask for all the tests, and I ask for so many things, and they just keep telling me everything's okay, everything's okay, and I am not sure what to look for. So I feel a little bit like in the middle of the ocean, navigating these waves and trying to find answers where I can.
And that's so frustrating too that you ask for testing and then they won't even do it. How do they know if everything's okay if they don't test you?
Exactly. The first time I was told, oh, that happens. The second time when I went to the hospital, they told me we need a sample of blood to figure out what's wrong. And in the end, when they dismissed me, I asked, did you do the sample? Do we know why this happened? No, everything's okay. Everything's okay. That's the answer I keep getting. Everything's okay. And we got to a point where I even told my husband, you need to go test yourself. You need to go test your semen to see if everything's okay. Maybe the problem might be coming from you. And he was told everything was fine from his end. So we don't understand why we can't get pregnant, but stay pregnant, carry it to term. And then there's all the friends and family that say, oh, but at least you can get pregnant. But that's not the issue. Well, it is the issue because even though we know we can get pregnant, it's not as easy as it seems. It took us years to get pregnant, but even when we do, we can't carry the pregnancy. So I need to know what's wrong. So we keep thinking, if well, hopefully we will, but if we get pregnant again, yes, I want to be seen right away. I want to make sure the doctor is treating me as a priority, which I never felt before. I never felt like I was being treated as a priority.
I hate that so much. In so many of the stories like that I've heard, so many people just get dismissed. And it makes me so mad. Like that's not what you're there for.
Exactly.
And especially women, because like you said, I know we're not always good at advocating for ourselves. I had to really learn to do that because I definitely was not doing that at the beginning.
That's what I'm on the process of learning. Exactly.
But then, yeah, I switched doctors partially through my pregnancy when I was pregnant with Jasmine, and because my doctor was just not listening, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have to stay with this doctor.
True.
But it's like you don't always think that. You think you're like stuck with who you got,
Yeah, and I remember the first time it was actually my husband who told me you need to find another OBGYN, and me, I guess because I'm also naive in this country a little bit, I don't know exactly how things go. So he just kept telling me, no, you need to find another OBGYN. She didn't handle things properly. She didn't pay attention to you. You need another OBGYN. And I just kept saying, what difference does it gonna make? It is a OBGYN. Oh, but like you said, we learn as we go. Unfortunately, I had two miscarriages, but I kept learning from it. So eventually, if I get pregnant again, I'll know better. I'll know better.
So, do you have any other advice for anybody who's going through a loss?
I would suggest reach out to people who have been through that if you know someone and talk, and it's okay to cry. We need to cry to go through it. And it's been a long time for me, and now I talk about it. I was going to say without crying, but I just did while I was describing
It's
what
okay. I
happened.
still cry sometimes too.
Yeah, it gets easier as time goes. Not easier, but you know what I'm trying to say. It less painful as time goes by, but it's okay. Just know that your pain is valid. Your pain is valid. Don't let people tell you, "Oh, just get over it," like I was told. No, you need to go through that pain. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to cry, but find comfort in your partner so you both together get through it and eventually keep going in a happier path. Because it's okay. Those storms are gonna happen, and we have to stick together and learn and grow from it, mostly.
Yeah, I think the lost community is definitely amazing. Some
That's true.
very amazing people there.
I agree.
So, is there anything else that you would like to share or add?
No, I already told my experience. I wanna say I'm sorry if I kept repeating myself. This was like a first for me, but
Okay.
but I feel like I wanted to share that experience because I want other women who go through that to know you are not alone. You are not alone.
Well, and I think, your experience is really important to share too, especially because, so many doctors just kind of write off miscarriages as, it's a heavy period or it's but yours affected you, greatly physically more than just, a
Mhm.
simple heavy period. And
Exactly.
I think people need to be aware that not all miscarriages happen in the same way or look the same way.
Yeah, even though I had both, I can tell you they were totally different. They happen in totally different ways. The second one worse, which made me say I will never go through this again. But it's in the past and we got to keep trying. Eventually we'll get there.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story and talking about your experience.
I want to thank you for having me. And I especially want to thank you for for everything you do, because it is a light in people's lives. And people went through loss. It is a light, and it's a great thing that you're doing.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me. That's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do. So it's nice to hear that it helps.
You're succeeding.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sophia, for sharing your story with us. It's so frustrating to me that there are doctors out there that just dismiss you when you're going through a loss. Loss is traumatic, and especially the experience Sophia had was traumatic. It is horrible feeling abandoned by the very doctors that are supposed to be there to help you. Don't forget that you can always advocate for yourself, and you can always switch doctors. So many of us don't advocate for ourselves, either because we don't know how, we don't realize that what we're going through isn't how it should be. I know I say this repeatedly, but this is why I feel it's so important to share our experiences. Sophia mentioned she didn't realize what she was going through wasn't how it should be. When she heard others talk about their experience, she realized she wasn't getting the care she deserved. This is how we help improve the care for lost moms. Not accepting subpar care and sharing our stories to help inform others that they can ask for better. We're not just another mom going through a loss. We're a person, and we deserve that compassion and understanding. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.